Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video, I will be showing you a hands-on demo on how you can use a CloudFront distribution in AWS to serve as a front end to your website, to your static website that is going hosted on an AWS S3 bucket. So CloudFront is just another service in AWS. Okay, so the first question is, why do we want to use a CloudFront distribution, or why do we want to use this CloudFront service in AWS to serve our content when we can actually serve our static content using AWS S3 bucket? We know now that in S3 we have the option of enabling static website hosting that can be used to serve our static website. Okay, so the main reason is, when you are using S3 bucket to host your static website, the content will only be served with HTTP. That means you don't have HTTPS option, which also means that your website is going to be insecure. Okay, so if you want to use static website hosting in S3 to be used in a production setup, you have to use CloudFront distribution. Okay, so without that you cannot host a production grade application in S3. Okay, so this is just one reason. The other reason is, this CloudFront service also improves the performance of your website, which means that when the user is using the CloudFront as as the endpoint to access your website data, okay, then the latency of the data that is being retrieved is going to be very low, which means that the performance of the application or the website is going to be very good. Okay, how it works, we'll just see how this CloudFront service actually works behind the scenes. Okay, so just to do that, I drew a diagram to explain you the concept of CloudFront, okay, which is really important to understand before we can actually jump on to our demo project. So CloudFront is actually called a CDN service, or it's also called a content delivery network service. Okay, now what is the meaning of this? When you are using CloudFront as the front end to users to access your website, then it is going to use something called as edge locations behind the scenes. Okay, so these different edge locations, which are spread across the globe, okay, are used to hold your content. Okay, hold the content from your main website. As you can see in the diagram, we have the main backend website, okay, which is there, and we are using CloudFront here as the front end. And when the users are accessing your website, they are going to use this CloudFront endpoint instead of your main backend website endpoint. Okay, now these different edge locations, they act as repository to hold the frequently accessed data from the users. Okay, so for an example, suppose there's a user who is trying to access this particular website from North America. For example, the user is in USA, okay, America. So if the user is from America who wants to access a website, then the user will be redirected to North America edge location first, which means that whatever request the user has made to the website, that request will be redirected to this North America edge location, and it will be checked if the data that is being requested by the user is already available on this edge location or not. Okay, if the data is available here, then the data will be served from here to the user. Okay, if I just draw the user also. Okay, so this user is in US and he's trying to access the data on the website which has its front end as a CloudFront distribution. Okay, so these different edge locations are located across the globe, as I mentioned. So for the user who is in US, the data will be served from this North America edge location. Okay, now, okay, how it actually works. So if this is the first time request of any user to access some particular data, then the first time, since the data is not is being requested for the first time, so then this particular edge location will not have that data. Okay, in that case, the request will be forwarded to the main backend website. Okay, so this for the first time, remember. Okay, after the data is accessed the first time, then this edge location is going to cache the data from the main website here locally. Okay, and you also have the option to set the time to live, TTL, which means that for how much time do you want to hold the data on a particular edge location. So that option is also there in CloudFront. Okay, so if the user is trying to access the data for the first time, then the request will be forwarded to the main backend website. Okay, and then when the data is retrieved, when the data is retrieved from the backend website, it is going to be cached on this particular edge location here, and the data will be served to the user. If that same user or some other user tries to access the same data the next time, since the data is already cached on this edge location, the data will be served from here to the user, which means that the latency will be very low because the data is being accessed from a local server in this North America instead of the main backend website, which is located somewhere else. So this is how it improves the performance of your application or application requests. Okay, so it is a gateway to increase the customer experience. Okay, so this CloudFront distribution uses its global network of edge locations to cache the frequently accessed data from the different users to decrease the latency of the data that is being retrieved and increase the application performance or the website performance. So this is the second reason why do you want to use a CloudFront with your S3 bucket, even though you have the option of hosting static content on an S3 bucket. Okay, so now we have two reasons. Okay, why are we using this CloudFront distribution with S3? One is, since S3 does not give the option of HTTPS, so you cannot attach an SSL certificate, okay, here. And the second reason is the application performance or the website performance. It is greatly improved if you're using CloudFront as the front end to your main website. All right, I hope the concept is clear. Okay, how it works. Now let's talk about this particular project that I am about to start now. So as you can see in the architectural diagram, so this is what we are going to try to deploy here. So we will have our static website, okay, which will be hosted on an S3 bucket, okay, and we are going to use a CloudFront distribution. It's called CloudFront distribution. When you create a resource in CloudFront, it's called CloudFront distribution. Okay, so when you have this distribution created, it's going to be attached or associated to your S3 bucket. And then when the users are trying to access from different locations, the request will be routed to this CloudFront endpoint, and CloudFront behind the scenes is going to redirect the request to the nearest edge locations depending on the location of the user. As you can see in the diagram also, if a user is from North America, the request will be routed to the North America edge location. If the user is from Asia, then it will be Asian edge location. Similarly, if the user is from Australia, then it's going to be Australia. Okay. So if the content is available here, then the content will be served from here to the user. straight away. If not, if this is the first time that the users are requesting this content from the website, then the content will be cached from the main source to this edge location, and the data will be served to the user also. And when the same data is requested the next time, it's going to be served from the edge location. Okay, but of course it depends on this time to live condition also, for how much time you want to cache the content on the edge location. Okay, so this is all about the architecture. I hope this is clear to you. So I have already I wrote some theory as well about this CloudFront service. Okay, so you can go through this. It's the same thing that I just told you about the CloudFront, how it works behind the scenes. Okay, and then we have the steps that we can use to start deploy the project. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so step number 1 is domain registration. Now this is completely optional step. You can skip this. Okay, and you can still go on and complete this project. Excuse me. So what is the meaning of domain registration? If I talk about, so domain is like the address to any website that you access. Okay, so for example, you have a website called amazon.com, right? So amazon.com is a website, right? But it is also a domain. Okay, so I'm going to cover, I'm going to create one video on DNS basics as well. But here, since we are, working on this project, so I want to talk about these little terms related to DNS. So domain registration is nothing but just this domain is like an address to a particular website. Okay, but to use that particular website address, okay, I gave you the example of amazon.com. It can be any example. Okay, amazon.com, flipkart.com, any website that you might be using in your day-to-day life. All these websites have a domain, okay, registered to them, which means that they own that domain. Okay, so they have actually bought the domains. Okay, that's why they are able to use it to host their applications or host their websites. Okay, so same I'm going to do in this demo also. I'm going to show you how you can buy a domain of your choice from AWS using a service called Route53. AWS this Route53 is a DNS service in AWS. Okay, that is used for all your DNS solutions. Okay, to buy a domain. Okay, or if you have an existing domain from other websites, like there are so many websites from which you can buy the domain actually. Okay, so you can buy the domain from elsewhere also, and then you can transfer it to AWS Route53. But not all the domains are actually transferable. Okay, so bear that in mind. So whenever you are if you're trying to buy a domain from somewhere else, so just ensure that you're able to transfer it to AWS. Okay, if you want to do that. Okay. So yeah, so this is about the domain part. So I'll just show you how we can actually buy a domain in AWS Route53. Okay, so I said that this is an optional step because it's going to cost you a little bit of money. So to me, I think it costed around 250 Indian rupees, not much, and it's going to be it is going to be applicable for 1 year. Okay, so you can buy a domain for at least 1 year. Okay, in AWS Route53. So let me show you that how you can do that. So I'm going to go to my AWS management console and I'm going to go to Route53. Okay, so you can navigate to Route53 service, and okay, let me just show you that. So just type 53 in the search box and open it. Okay, so this is the default dashboard. So on the left hand side you can see registered domains. You can click on it. So here you will see the domains that you've already registered. If not, you get the option to create one as well. Okay. So as you can see, I bought this domain. This is called techapricate.click. This was the cheapest domain available actually. So I mean, that's why I'm using this, but you can use any other domain of your choice also. But I mean, but again, this is completely optional. You don't have to spend anything to complete this demo, but I just wanted to show you how you can actually buy a domain and use it to host a website that looks absolutely real with HTTPS. Okay. So if you want to buy the domain, just click on this register domains here. And then what you can do is you can just, if you scroll down, you can see the standard pricing. Okay. So you can just sort it out with price, and you can see the cheapest top level domain which is available to you is .click. Okay. So that is why I'm using techapricate.click, because it was the cheapest one. So it's going to cost you $3 US. Okay. So suppose you want to buy a domain with a particular name. It can be any name, but you have to check if that domain already exists or not. Okay. If it does not exist, then you can use it. So for example, I want to buy DevOps 223, for example. Okay. And I can click on search to see if it is available or not. Okay. So it's only going to take few seconds rather. So as you can see, the price has come up. Okay. And okay, it's going to be slightly costly, so let's use something else. Let's use something that is pretty unique, like maybe like Argo and me. Okay, just a random one. And if you click on search, you can see the different prices. Okay, it's still coming as pretty high, but once again, it depends which one do you want to buy. I think what I can do is okay, I'm using .com. Sorry, I should use .click, then it will be cheaper. Yeah, sorry about that. So since I was I did not use any top level domain, so it just added .com to it, and .com domains are always very costly. So but if you use a cheap a top level domain like TLD. Okay, so once again, I'm using all these terms like top level domain and other things. I'm going to come up with a video where I'm going to cover all the DNS basics. Okay, but just for this video, I'm just going to give you just enough information so that you can use that to complete this particular demo. Okay, so here as you can see, as I use this .click, I'm able to buy the domain only for $3 US. Okay, instead of others which are going to cost me a lot of money. So as you can see, 14, 15 and so on. So if you want to do that, you can just select this. Okay, and then you just have to buy it as you buy any other item from an e-commerce website. Okay, so you can click on proceed to checkout. Next. Okay, so here you can see the duration of this domain is 1 year, or you have the option to choose it for multiple years also at once. Okay, so it's up to you. And also you have the option to auto renew, which means that after 1 year this domain will be auto renewed on your name. Okay, but of course you have to pay the fees for the next year as well. Okay, so if I click on next, then you have to enter all the details. Okay, here all the details you have to enter, and just after you have entered all the domain the details, just click on next. It's going to ask you a few more details, and then you can buy the domain. But yes, it's going to take some time. After you have bought the domain, you will get one email a confirmation on that the domain registration is successful, and then you can start using your domain for your website building. Okay, so this is how you can buy the domain. Okay, so since I've already bought, I'm not going to buy again, so I'll click on cancel. and I'll go to registered domain, since I already have a domain which I bought yesterday itself. Okay, so this is how you can buy a domain in AWS Route 53. Okay, but once again, you can buy from some other website as well, and you can transfer it, but you have to check if that domain is actually transferable to AWS or not. Okay, so I mean, why I'm doing it? Because I want to host a website that looks like a real website. Okay, with an HTTPS enabled. So I wanted that. So I mean, that's why I bought the domain, but it is completely optional. All right. Step number 2 is, if I go back, the steps: request a public certificate from AWS Certificate Manager. Okay, so once again, we are going to use another service in AWS called Certificate Manager, which is used to generate certificates. So certificates, if I talk about, if you see here on GitHub, if you click on this particular icon here, you can see you get the option of connection is secure. Okay, if I click on here, and if I click on this certificate is valid, you will see the certificate details like this. Okay, so so in general, if you see this common name is github.com. Okay, the certificate is valid. It means that this certificate has been I mean, it is a valid one. So I mean, GitHub has bought a certificate from themselves, and then they've attached to this website. Okay, and they are the owner of this domain, github.com. Okay, so I mean, GitHub is the owner of github.com. So that is why they are able to use it to host this particular website, and they are using a valid certificate also, which means that they are using HTTPS to encrypt the data. Okay. Right, so to use this certificate for our website also, okay, I mean, I want to achieve the same thing. I want to have a website which is secure and which uses HTTPS like this. Okay, and with my own domain, okay, which is going to be techapricate.click instead of github.com. Okay, so that is why we need a certificate to be attached to the website. Okay, so you have to request this public website from AWS Certificate Manager. Example I've already given you. I mean, so there are two types of certificates that you can create. Either you can create a wildcard certificate where you use star, which means that you can use any name or anything before a .website .click, and that can be your website name. It's up to you. Or you can use the star, which means that you can use this certificate with all the websites which have .website .click in the website address name. Okay, so here I'm using star.website.click, but you can use a particular name also. For example, you can use demo.website.click also for your certificate. Okay, and this is to use HTTPS encrypted connections when users use CloudFront. So we are going to use this certificate with a CloudFront distribution. Okay, so this is going to be step 2. So step 1 was to buy the domain, which I have already done. Step 2 is to request a public certificate from AWS Certificate Manager. Okay, so that we can use HTTPS based encryption, which I just showed you as an example of this particular website github.com, which is also using HTTPS certificate. Okay, and they are the owner of this github.com domain. Okay, so let's go to our AWS Management Console and see how we can request a public certificate from AWS Certificate Manager service. So here I am, and if I go to my Certificate Manager service, so you can just type here Certificate Manager. Okay, Certificate Manager, and it's going to, when you click on it, you will reach this particular dashboard. Okay, so here you can see request a certificate option. Click on request a certificate. Also, you can only request a certificate for a domain that you own. Remember this. Okay, else you will not be able to validate. Okay, so you can use this public certificate here, which is the default option available, and this is the only option available by default. Okay, so we'll be using this public certificate, which means that we are trying to host a public website. Okay, so just click on next. Then here you have to write the FQDN or fully qualified domain name. So this is going to be the name of your website that you want to keep. But of course, whatever website address you are using, I mean, whatever top level domain you're using, you should be the owner of that. Okay. So if I just show you again, I am the owner of this techapricate.click domain in Route53, right? So I can use this as my website name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to request public certificate, and here I'm going to use maybe demo dot techapricate dot click. So this is going to be the website name. So here, as you can see, I'm using this techapricate.click because I own this domain. I bought this domain, right? So this is my domain. Okay, no one else can use it. Okay, I mean for their website. So only I can use it. Okay, techapricate.click. So so here I'm using this as my website name. So I'm using demo.techapricate.click as the website name. Okay, then just scroll down and don't change anything, and you can click on request. Okay, you can click on request. It's going to take like 2-3 minutes. Let me just show you. Okay, so I already have this this certificate with me. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you what all certificates I already have. So I can click on this list certificates here, and I can see all the certificates that I've already requested and are issued to me. Okay, so here if you see here, what I'm trying to use here, I'm using a wildcard certificate, which means that I can attach this certificate to multiple websites because I'm using wildcard. Okay, so it's up to you. You can use this type of certificate, or you can use a specific certificate as I just mentioned. So let me just go again and search request a certificate. So this time I'm going to use this demo.techapricate.click. So I'm going to use demo.techapricate.click. Okay, I'm not going to change anything. Validation method is going to be DNS validation, which is the recommended one. I'll just talk about it. What does it mean? Demo.techapricate.click and click on request. Okay, so it's going to generate a certificate for you, and it's going to take some time. Actually, it's going to take like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes more than that, for the this certificate to be issued to you. Okay, and one more thing, to validate the certificate, you have to perform an additional step. Okay, so as you can see here, I just requested this certificate and status is pending validation, and in the domains you can see I'm getting an option to create record in Route53. So this is the section where I'm trying to validate that I'm the owner of this domain. So this is the section where I do it. So AWS gives you a very easy option. You just have to click on this option like this, and then you have to just click on this create record. So what it's going to do is it's going to create an additional record in Route53 DNS service of AWS to validate this particular request of a certificate, which means that you have, you are the owner of this domain that you are using in this certificate, and you have validated that as well. Okay, so I'll just click on create record. So I just click twice, and I'm able to validate the request of this certificate. So after I do that, I'll get the status of this certificate change from a pending validation to issued. Okay, in a while. So what I can do is I can go to certificates again, and I can just click. Okay, generally it's like, it can take 2 to 3 minutes or maybe more than that sometimes. Let's just hit refresh multiple times. let me just refresh from here. So after you create this DNS record to validate the request, it generally takes very less time. Okay, so we need to validate the request as well. As you can see, I just refresh the page from browser, and now you can see this is issued, status is issued, which means that I was able to validate the request that I am the owner of this domain and I can have this certificate for my website. This is done, right? Next is, let's go to next step, which is going to be create an S3 bucket. So I'm going to create one S3 bucket for static website hosting. Okay, but as I mentioned, only HTTP is allowed in S3 static website. So create an S3 bucket with default option and upload your static website content. Okay, so I'll go to my AWS Management Console again. I'll go to my S3 domain this time, S3 dashboard. This is the default S3 dashboard. Okay, and click on create bucket. And so this name is better if you use the name that you want to use for your website. Okay, so what I can do is I can go to my Route53 again. Sorry, I can go to my certificate section and I can copy the name of the website that I want to use as my bucket name also. So I'm going to copy this demo.techapricate.click and I'm going to come here. But of course you have to ensure that this name is unique. Okay, in my case it's going to be unique, I'm pretty sure. And just create the bucket with this name, which is going to be the name of your website also, and also the name of the domain name for your certificate. Okay, and just scroll down. Okay, here you don't have to change anything. Okay, even this option has to be as it is. Don't have to change anything here. Just write the name and write the unique name and click on create bucket. So as you can see, the bucket is created, which means this name wasn't there for any S3 bucket in AWS. So I was able to use this name. So you have to use a unique name here. Okay, this is done. Next, I can see in the list. So step number 4 is AWS CloudFront. So now we'll be creating this AWS CloudFront distribution using the AWS CloudFront service in AWS. Okay, which is going to be used as the front end to our S3 website. Okay, also just before that, I would like to upload the content to my S3 bucket. So I just created the bucket, but I did not upload my static website content. So I'll go to my AWS Management Console again, and I'm going to click on view details here, and I'm going to upload the objects. Okay, so for this, I'm going to use a free to use website that you also can use. Okay, so I'm going to keep everything in the GitHub repository which I'm using for this project, so you can download it from there. So first thing is I'm going to upload the index.html file, which is going to be the most important file to serve your static content in the S3 bucket. Upload. This is done. Click on close. Then I'm going to add a folder which is going to have other content of the website. So I'll go to upload. I'll click on add folder, and now I'm going to add this assets folder. Upload, upload, and upload. Okay, so this is going to be done. Next, we can create our CloudFront distribution as it's mentioned in the step 4. Okay. Okay, so this is going to complete soon. Let's start creating our CloudFront distribution, because CloudFront distribution also takes like 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes to be ready for you to use. Okay, so let's see how it looks. So you have to go to CloudFront service. From this, scroll to this service. Once you're here, you can see all the distributions that you've already created, or you can click on create distribution to create the new CloudFront distribution. So how to create this? Click on create distribution button here. choose the origin. Okay, so this is going to be the origin, means which content do you want to serve using this CloudFront distribution. Okay, so as you can see now in the list, I have this bucket ready with me. So just choose this bucket, and this is the bucket that I used to upload my static website content. Okay, this is the same bucket, demo.talk techapricate.click, and then it just added this suffix, okay, automatically, because I'm trying to use this as the origin here in my CloudFront distribution. So this is the bucket that I just created. Then don't have to do anything here, leave it default. The name of the origin, it's going to be there. I mean it's going to come there automatically from the origin domain. Okay, so you don't have to do anything. Origin access, I'm going to use this legacy access identities. Okay, why I'm using this? If you see, use a CloudFront origin access identity OAI to access the S3 bucket. So I mean, what does it mean is it's going to restrict the access of the S3 bucket only to CloudFront, which means that this is actually a type of a security feature. Okay, it means that whosoever has access to your S3 URL will not be able to access the content inside that bucket. Why? Because we are trying to create one OAI or origin access identity in our CloudFront distribution, which means that the content of that S3 bucket can only be accessed via this CloudFront endpoint. Okay, so this is like a security feature where you are trying to restrict the access points for your data. So the data that is there in your S3 bucket can only be accessed from a CloudFront endpoint and not from the main S3 bucket. Okay, so here you have to, I mean, if you don't see this identity, you can just click here, click this, create new OAI, and you will get one OAI created for you, which you can use from the drop down menu. Okay, since I already created it, so I'm getting this in my drop down. But if you don't see it, just click on this create new OAI. It's going to create the OAI for you, and then you can use it from the drop down menu like me here. Done. Then bucket policy, update the S3 bucket policy to allow read access to the OAI. Yes, you have to choose yes here. So yes, update the bucket policy, because I want this OAI to access the S3 bucket. Okay, so I have to update the bucket policy for that. Then next is, if I go to additional settings, no need to change anything here. Okay, but as you can see, there are so many different options, so many different configurations that you can have, but I'm going to use the most important ones, and I'm going to leave the others as default. Okay, so if you have more time, you can explore all of these options one by one, but it's going to take a lot of time. Okay, so I don't want this video to become too long. Okay, so I'm going to use the default options, and okay, one option I want to use, if you just scroll down to the default cache behaviors, so this viewer section here, I want redirect HTTP to HTTPS. Now, I mean, what does it mean? If someone is trying to access my website with HTTP instead of HTTPS, then that request will be redirected to HTTPS by default. Okay, this is again one of the very important feature in CloudFront that you want to use for your production grade application. Especially, you want to ensure that the users are only accessing your CloudFront URL using HTTPS and not HTTP. Okay, so if someone is trying to use the website name with HTTP, the request will be redirected to HTTPS. Then then we don't have to change anything here. If I go to additional settings once more, again check, I don't want to use web application firewall. Okay, so I'll just choose this, do not enable security protections under web application firewall or WAF. And here in price class, I would recommend that you use the one that is going to cost you the lowest. So I think it's going to be use only North America and Europe. So only 2 regions. Okay, or else if you want, you can just go through this information and see which one is going to cost you the less. Okay. And under alternate domain name, it's optional. I don't think I need to use it. Okay, but if you want, you can add some other name or to your website also. Okay, so it is to have an alternate name to your main website. Okay, but I'm not going to use it. And then I'm going to use the SSL certificate, which I just mentioned that I want to use my SSL certificate that I requested in Certificate Manager here. This one, demo.techapricate.click. Okay, so you can go here and you can choose the certificate of your choice. Okay, so since I have 2 certificates here, so I'm getting the option of choosing any one of them. Okay, so you can create a certificate like this, demo.techapricate.click, or you can create a wildcard certificate and you can use any of those in your CloudFront configuration. Next, I'm not going to change much. Yes, I'm going to change this setting here, default root object optional, which means that which is going to be your default file that you want to access. Okay, when the users try to access your website, which file is going to be the default file. Okay, so here we generally use index.html. Okay, since we have index.html in our static website, so you can use index.html here. Okay, which is going to be the default root object. Then next, I'm not going to do anything and I can click on create distribution. Okay, I'm not going to do it because it's going to take like 10-15 minutes for the distribution to be ready. So after you click on this, you have to wait patiently for 10 to 15 minutes and you will see the status. It's going to change to deployed. Okay, once it is created. Okay, so to save time in this video, I've already created one distribution. So when you click on this create distribution, it's going to take 10 to 15 minutes for you to have this ready for you to use. Okay, so to save time, I already created one, so I'm going to use that in this demo. Okay, let me open it in a new tab. It's already there. So this is the distribution that I already have. Okay, it has the same setting that I just showed you. All the things are same. Okay, the only change is this custom SSL certificate. Here I'm using a wildcard certificate, but I just showed you that you can use a particular certificate like demo.techapricate.click also. Okay, so but both are going to work here, right? So here, as you can see, now we have connected our S3 bucket with our CloudFront distribution. Okay, and we are also using one HTTPS based SSL certificate which we requested in Certificate Manager tab. I hope the concept is clear. Also, just want to repeat, I'm using a domain that I registered in Route53 that I can use to host my website. So this is how all these things are linked together. Okay, Route53, AWS Certificate Manager, CloudFront, and S3. Next, if I talk about the next step, it's going to be this one. Create a DNS record in Route53. So now is the time to point the CloudFront URL, because even though I'm using my own SSL certificate with CloudFront, it is going to give me a URL that is going to be CloudFront specific and not related to my website. Okay, so what I have to do is I have to create one DNS record in Route53 so that I can point the endpoint of the CloudFront to my main website. Okay, so for that, what are the instructions? You have to point your CloudFront URL to your website name, and you have to choose this type of record, this type of DNS record in Route53. So in DNS, we have option of getting a different type of records. Okay, I'm going to talk about it when I cover the video of DNS concepts, but just understand here, what I want to use is, I want to use this option, which is I want to get an A type of record, which is going to route the traffic to an IPv4 address and some AWS resources. Okay, so let me show it to you how it looks. So if I go to my AWS management console, if I go to Route 53 once again, I can click on, so from here what you have to do is you can click on hosted zones. So once again, I am going to cover all these concepts. What are the meaning of hosted zone, or what is DNS in general, how it works. Okay, and then all these different records. Okay, I'm going to come up with a video soon. Okay, but since we are dealing with it in this video, so I just want to give you some information around it. So you can go to hosted zone. Okay, I was already there. So just click on this, and here you will see the option of records. So all the existing records you will see here, and you have the option to create a new record also. Okay, so how to get this record? Just click on create record here in your hosted zone. Okay, so whatever domain you have bought, that is going to become your hosted zone. Okay, after you click on that, then you have to create this create record option here and choose the name that you want to use. So now this record name should be exactly the same as your certificate name. Okay, unless you are using a wildcard certificate, that is star. If you have used a particular certificate like demo.techapricate.com, then this record name also should be demo.techapricate.com. So just type demo here, and .techapricate.click, sorry, is already there. Okay, now record type, as I mentioned, we have different type of records that we can use, but for this we are going to use a type of record: routes traffic to IPv4 address and some AWS resource. Now the meaning of this a record is whenever you are trying to map a domain name, okay, or it is also called a FQDN, fully qualified domain name, to an IPv4 address in the backend, you use an a type of record. Okay, but in this case, since it is in this case we're using a record, but it says that you can route traffic to an IPv4 address and some AWS resources. So remember, what we want to achieve here, we want to point our CloudFront distribution endpoint URL to our main website. So this is our main website, right? And if I go to this CloudFront, I can see the endpoint of CloudFront also. If I click on this, you will see your CloudFront URL also. Let me go to this tab, and here is the this CloudFront distribution domain name. Sorry, domain name. Yeah. So this is the endpoint of my CloudFront distribution, and as you can see, it is like the domain name is like some random string, and you have this .cloudfront.net. So random alphabets and numbers, okay, together, and then .cloudfront.net. So this is the domain which is owned by CloudFront. But I want to host my website on demo.techapricate.click. So what I want to achieve in Route 53 by creating the record, I want to point this, or redirect this to my main website. Okay, so that when the users access my website on demo.techapricate.click, they are redirected to this in the backend. So this is what we want to achieve in Route 53 by creating that DNS record. Okay, so if I go back to my DNS here, so this is the name of my website, which is going to be accessed by the users, and I want to point this to the CloudFront distributions. For that I have to use this type of record, a record. Okay, after I do that, in alias I have to enable it. So alias is like when you want to map a domain to another domain. Okay, you want to map a domain, which is this domain, to another domain, which is this CloudFront domain. You have to use this alias a record. So that's why I'm using this. Okay, so as soon as I enable this, I get the option to choose my CloudFront distribution. Okay, so from here you can choose CloudFront, CloudFront distribution, alias to CloudFront distribution, and then you get the option to choose your distribution also from here. Okay, like this. So now as you can see, this DNS record is going to point this to this, which means that whenever the user is trying to access the website on this URL, they're going to be redirected to this URL in the backend. Okay, then I'm not going to change this routing policy, so just keep it as simple routing and click on create record. Okay, so once you click on this create records option, you will see a record like this, which I've already created. To save time in this video, I already created this record, but when you click on it, it's going to be the same. It's going to look the same. Okay, so in my hosted zone, you can see there's one record which is already created, which is demo.techapricate.click. Type a record. It's going to it's pointing to my CloudFront distribution endpoint URL in the backend. Fine. So now I can see if I can try to access the website. I think that's going to be the next step. So after I get this DNS record, which is going to point my CloudFront URL to my website name, okay, I can try to access the website on the browser. Okay, so this is just an example. The example website is demo.website.click, but in my case, it's going to be demo.techapricate.click. Okay, so let's go. So let's open my incognito window, okay, and see. So I'll just do demo dot techapricate dot click. Not secure, continue to site. Okay, so as you can see, I'm accessing my website called demo.techapricate.click and I'm seeing the website. Okay, so this is being served from CloudFront right now. Okay, this is being served from CloudFront, so it's going to be really fast. As you can see, the performance of the website, it's really great because I'm using the different edge locations of CloudFront to access the content. Okay, so it's going to be pretty fast. Also, as I just showed you, if I use HTTP, for example, if I use HTTP here, okay, so I'm not using HTTPS, so it's going to redirect to HTTPS because I enable that option in my CloudFront distribution. So if I use HTTP, it's going to redirect to HTTPS. As you can see, HTTP is being redirected to HTTPS. So this is also working, right? And also, if I show you some other things as well that you might want to consider, if I go to my management console, if I click on the S3 bucket, so this is my S3 bucket and I uploaded these are different objects that are visible now on the website as well. Okay, so the website is accessible via CloudFront, but the source of this content is S3 bucket. Okay, so here what I want to show you is properties, and if you scroll down, properties, okay, yeah, so as you can see here, I wanted to show you this. So I created this S3 bucket with default settings and I did not enable my static website hosting also. Okay, I did not have to enable my website hosting. Why? Because I want to keep the content of this bucket private and I only want the CloudFront to be able to access the content on this S3 website. So as you can see, I did not have to enable the static website option also. So I just uploaded my this content to this bucket and I used CloudFront to configure everything from there. So this is how security works here. Okay, so only and only CloudFront can access the content of this bucket. Okay, no one else can. Also, if you see in the permissions, you will see the this public access to this bucket is also blocked. Okay, so nobody has access to the content of this website. Okay, so the content is only being served from CloudFront, and we're using OAI, Origin Access Identity, to restrict the access as well. Okay, so this is like a perfectly secure way of deploying a website on an S3 bucket with CloudFront distribution. Okay, I hope the concept is clear to you, how we are working together. So now if I just look at the diagram once again, you will be able to link everything together. Okay, so I am the user. I am trying to access this website on my laptop. Okay, here the request is flowing from my laptop to this CloudFront distribution, and behind the scenes it has its own edge locations which are spread across the globe. Depending on my location, it's going to route the request to the nearest edge location, and then the request is going to be redirected to the main source origin, which is the S3 bucket in our case, to serve the content if the content is not available on the edge location. So this is how I'm able to access this static website content using the CloudFront distribution. I hope the concept was clear to you, how the things are flowing, and what is the main use case of using CloudFront with S3 bucket, and how we are able to achieve security also with this application architecture. Alright guys, so that's all I wanted to cover. If you have any doubts related to this demonstration, please reach out to me in comment section. If you did not understand anything, I'm going to answer all your queries. And also, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Please share it with your friends and colleagues or people who are looking to get into cloud DevOps field. And also, please do subscribe to my channel. Alright guys, that's all I wanted to cover, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye.